Business accountability. The rules of tipping. Martha Stewart was recently convicted on charges of obstruction of justice and lying to government agencies. But while many people paid attention to her travails and some even took pleasure in her downfall, relatively few really understood the basis for the charges against her. Much of the problem we see hinges on who said what, when, and to whom. Dr. Samuel Waxel spent much of his career as a respected immunologist. In 1984, he launched a new biotech business called ImClone to explore new treatment options for cancer. Waxel hired his brother Harlan as a physician to help run it. It seemed that they'd found the ticket to the riches in early 1990s. When a professional acquaintance, research scientist John Mendelsohn, indicated that he'd made the discovery that it might be the major breakthrough in fight against cancer, Erbitux was the new drug which was called seemed to have significant potential for treating certain forms of cancer. With additional funding, Mendelssohn was confident that he could get federal approval to market the drug. The Waxels convicted Mendelssohn to license Erbitux ImClone. For the next few years, the drug was being further developed and refined. Samuel Waxel devoted much of its time building enthusiasms for Erbitux. After all, the medical breakthrough on cancer front would have incredible market value. Waxel's marketing efforts paid off. Investors seemed to be lining up at his door, and ImClone became the talk of the New York. Mick Jagger came to Waxel's Christmas party, and the Doobie Brothers entertained at the ImClone party at the major cancer research meeting. Waxel himself partied with Martha Stewart and dated her daughter. As Erbitux drew closer to becoming a reality, enthusiasm continued to mount. The American Society of Clinical Oncology predicted that Erbitux would be for 21st century what polio and smallpox vaccines were for the 20th century. Waxel meanwhile began dropping hints that the testing process at the Food and Drug Administration (FDA) was going well, and that he anticipated full approval just as soon as FDA evaluations were complete. In the fall 2001, Bristol Mayor Squibb announced plans to invest $2 billion in ImClone. In return, the joint drug maker would get a 20% stake in ImClone and share of the US rights to Erbitux. Fueled in part by the Bristol Mayor's investment, in part by the Waxel's promotional campaign, ImClone stock, already performing impressively, took off, reaching a high $75.45 a share in early December 2001. But then a joint shoe dropped. In early December 2001, rumors began to circulate among the key Bristol mayor and ImClone officials that Erbitux approval was in trouble. Allegedly, Samuel and Harlan Waxel launched a furious lobbying in efforts with the personal contacts at the FDA to get the decision delayed or deferred. On December 6, Harlan sold $50 million of his ImClone stock. On December 26, Samuel learned that FDA had made up its mind and it had denied Erbitux application and refused to approve the commercial production. That night and early next morning, Waxel apparently relayed the information to certain family members and close friends. On December 27, The family members sold more than 9 million in Implon stock. Vauxhall tried to unload $5 million in Implon stock but was refused by his broker, who had already put a hold in all Implon transactions. On the same day, good friend Martha Stewart sold 3,928 shares of Implon.